What is going on, petrol heads? Guess what? Finally, I get to install my brand new LeoVince exhaust on this motorcycle. This has been something that I've been looking forward to for a very, very long time. I got my friend Zam Nation, you already know him, and he's going to be helping me, so thanks so much for helping me on this. And I also got the block-off plates because we're not going to be needing the AIS sensor. I'm assuming what this is for. It's going to remove that thingamajig underneath the tank, so we're going to get rid of that using this. I got the block-off plates for the rear pegs, and then we have a K&N Race Filter that's going to go underneath the tank. So we got a lot of work here. I'm going to assume that everything is going to take anywhere between 2 to 3 hours. I'm going to set my timer, and you know, we're a couple of amateurs. Well, actually, hold on, let me back up. I'm an amateur, he's not. He knows what he's doing, I don't. So because of that, this might take 6 hours, but we're really not sure. So we'll find out in the end, but every step of the way I'll take you guys. And for starters, we're going to be doing a before video. So I want to show you guys and let you hear what the exhaust sounds like before, and then afterwards, once the exhaust is installed, we're going to do an after, so this way you can hear what it sounds like. All right guys, so now this is the sound test. This is what it sounds like before. Disregard where the camera is because the camera is about 6 feet away, but I have a wireless mic, so it's picking everything up. It's going to be the same decibels whenever I install the new exhaust, so just FYI. Make sure this baby's in neutral. All right, 1, 2, 3. This is what the stock exhaust sounds like at the moment. All right, so that's the stock exhaust. Now we're going to start working on getting this baby off, and we're going to weigh everything in the process. Hardest parts is just removing screws. Yeah. All right, this came off. All right, so there's 2 push pins, one here and one here that we need to lift. All right, guys, so I managed to get the bottom side off here. Now it's getting this off, and there are 2 push pins right under here that we need to remove. So I got my little trusty screwdriver, push them in, take the pins out, and then this should come off. All right, so there's 1 additional screw that we need to remove, and it's connected to the radiator, so it's kind of hard to see. All right guys, so we just discovered that the screw that's holding up the radiator to the last piece on the fairing is a Phillips screwdriver, so make sure you get a Phillips for that, because when you're looking at it from this angle here, which is very, very tight, you don't know if it's a push pin, you don't know if it's a hex wrench or a Phillips, but we just discovered that. Okay, there's a push pin slash fastener, whatever you want to call it, and this was a bitch to remove. So I think my fingernails are going to be sore for like the next 4 days because I'm trying to like pry this through. But when you get to that section where you need to remove this last piece, once you separate these little arms, you push it and this piece comes out, and voila, there you go. But it does use a Phillips head, so if you see it, it uses a Phillips head. You're not going to get anywhere by spinning this. It's not going to come out that way. So use the technique I just told you. All right, guys, there's 1 more bolt. You see that right there? That's got to be removed, and then the whole fairing comes right out. That was the most difficult thing ever.
Yeah, that was the only one that gives the hard time.
Voila. There we go. Make sure that you're keeping all your pins and your screws in a very, very good place so you don't lose them. Nice. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. All right, guys, that wasn't really that difficult to remove. The only difficult part, I think, for both of us was removing that last screw that I just showed you guys. So now that the fairings are off, the next thing that you want to do is remove these screws here, because once you remove these screws, you got to get to servo valves and the CO2 sensors. Once the CO2 sensor and the servo valves are removed, then you got to work on removing this bolt and then everything else along with it.
There we go.
Nice.
So I just used a breaker bar, just gives you a little bit more leverage. And then this O2 sensor socket, I guess, this just allows the cable to pass through the socket, and then it just goes right over, and you actually push the opposite direction because the way that this is set up, it just reverses it.
Yeah, and by the way, guys, all the tools that we're using, well, not all the tools, but that little socket that we're using, including everything else that I bought, there's going to be links in the description below. All right, thanks to my boy Zamniti. We got the O2 sensor removed. So now that we have the O2 sensor removed, now we do the job of getting rid of this exhaust system piece by piece. All right, so now we're removing the headers, and I think once we remove the headers, everything should just come right off. And from here, it's smooth sailing.
Just remove this little bracket right here to give us a little bit more clearance. That one. Okay, so they're all loose. Now we can just go back through and get all these bolts off.
All right, so at this point, he's just removing the last of the nuts. How many more do you have left?
2.
Okay, he's got 2 more left. All right, before you remove the last one, I'm going to hold it from the opposite side. For you guys that don't have anybody helping you, it's good to put like a block of wood right here or something that is giving you some clearance. So this way, whenever you remove the bolts, this thing doesn't come crashing down into your fairings, into the lower part of the fairings. Or on the floor, for that matter.
Alright. Here it comes.
All right, so the next thing that we need to do is remove the Exup sensor as well as the O2 sensor plug. The O2 sensor plug is something I'm not too sure about because it's kind of like snaked in there and it's bunched up with a bunch of wires. So if I can't find a way to remove the O2 sensor, I'm just going to have to like chop it off or something, or maybe put it underneath the seat. So we'll figure that out once we remove it. And so now we need to unbolt these or loosen them up so this way the tank rolls up. That reverberated. That was pretty cool. That was one of my specialty burps that only happens once a year. I might just leave that in the film.
There we go.
Cool.
Nice. Alright.
Now we need something. So the air box goes in here.
Okay.
Let's remove the Exup sensor. All right, so now we're taking out the O2 sensor, and I already removed the zip tie that was already on it, and I put another one in its place, but I kept it loose. So that's the O2 sensor plug. Just got to figure out a way to remove it. All right, that little thing right, that green thing right there is the O2 sensor plug. So as you can see, I already put another zip tie.
Do you remember how to get these?
Yeah, you gotta push it. Let me get it. You hold the camera if you want. This is officially YouTube's first O2 sensor removal on a 2017 R6. If you guys have seen other videos doing it, put a link down in the description below, but I haven't seen anybody take this off. So here's a tip for you guys. There's a mess of wires here, and you're gonna have to remove the zip tie that's here. After you remove the zip tie, make sure you put another one before you move everything, or else the wires might just get loose. And then afterwards, just fish it out like I just did, and then out comes the O2 sensor. Now, if you ever put the stock exhaust back on, and if you sell your motorcycle and you put the stock exhaust back on, this can go back on, and it's a stock install once again. Now the Exup sensor.
You don't need to have like one of those, what's it called?
No,
Sensor buddies or whatever?
the check engine light's going to be on,
Okay.
but that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm okay
Well,
with
the tune's going to take that off, right?
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah.
Here, there's this plastic thing. If you remove it, it'll be easier to remove. There are plugs inside of it, so we need to remove the plugs.
There's one on your side.
There's 2 on my side. You want to come on my side?
Right?
That's 1.
So there's that.
Just got to fish everything out now.
Yep.
All right, guys. O2 sensor removed. Exup servo plug removed. This thing weighs a good pound. And together, I would say this is a good pound and a half. So happy that these things are removed. The way we got this to be removed is by removing the rear sets. You got to remove this because this is stuck to the rear set. So you got to get rid of this, and then the whole thing comes right out. But for this, there's no screws. There's kind of like a rubber band that's holding this in place. So you just got to remove the rubber band, and then this becomes loose. And now the next thing to do is put on the race air filter and also the block-off plates for the AIS sensor. All right, guys, we're at the part where we are removing the block-off plates. This was a lot of work already, man. How long are we into it already?
Like 4 hours. Maybe?
4 hours. This is what it currently looks like. Oh no! My poor R6.
There's one.
Nice. So I don't know if you can see it from the camera, but there's like a little liner. You got to push the liner back, and then you see the screws that are there.
It's gonna be so much easier to put these block-off plates in than getting this thing out.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Alright, now these outside ones are gonna be a little tricky to see. Do you see this one in here? It's hard for me to see.
Yeah,
Oh,
I see it. I
Yeah.
see it. There it is. That's what we got to get off, that silver plate thing right there. This is going to be like the best video on the internet for this.
Seriously. Comprehensive.
Super comprehensive. All right, here's the last screw, and I think this baby's going to come right out now. Get that ugly thing out of here.
Oh, that's what's not letting me pull it out. Those are still attached.
All right, guys, here is the AIS sensor. We removed it. This looks like it's got to be at least a half a pound. We're going to weigh all the stuff towards the end. But now we got to put on the block-off plates. Nice. And that's what it's supposed to look like once it's in there. Just got to tighten it up. You know what? Don't tighten it up until we do the other side.
All right.
Then we do all together. All right, guys, with the AIS sensor removed, we put the plastic piece back on, and now we're screwing back all of these nuts back into place, like that one right there, all around. I think there's 6 pieces. How many?
Yep, 6.
6 in total. Now, the difficult part is removing the AIS sensor, removing all this stuff, putting everything back in should be a lot smoother. All right, guys, now it's air filter time. The reason why they give you this box is because
Gotta hold the tank up.
got to hold the tank up. So make sure you got something on top of this, because once again, you do not want anything in there. If you get anything in here, it's going to ruin your day. Big time. All right, so this is the OG filter, and this is the new K&N Race Filter that I'm going to have a link down below in the description section where you can order it directly from Ravzilla. And I don't think this box is going to be necessary afterwards. They don't give you a little box, so we're just going to install it as is.
That side.
It's flush, yeah.
Done. Done deal.
All right, for some reason it came greased up. I don't know why, but I'm going to remove this grease off of it. If you know why it comes greased, write down in the comment section and let me know, because I'm curious.
Okay, so silver connector right there. Oh, watch it.
All right, so this is going to leak, so make sure you got this connector ready to go, because you're going to have fuel everywhere. All right, so the fuel tank is back on, and now we just have to screw everything back. Fuel line is back on. And what else do we need to do?
Rear foot pegs.
So the tank went on pretty good. We got one screw that's missing on the top here. We're going to worry about that one last, because we kind of don't know where the screw is and which one it is, but we're going to remove the passenger pegs at the current moment and put off the block-off plates. And that should be the last thing before we get to the actual exhaust, which is the main event. All right, guys, one of the foot pegs are out. We're working on the other one, but here's the block off plates.
Yep.
Yeah, the filler plates. And it already comes with screws. Once again, all of these are going to be down in the description below. I'm going to have links to Revzilla for everything. If you guys are interested in purchasing any of this stuff, you don't pay anything extra, and I just get a little commission. 2 for 2. These things are, I don't know, what is this, a quarter of a pound, a half a pound?
Probably half a pound. Yeah.
Probably a half a pound.
Just need one side down.
There goes the blanking plates. Screw them in. There it is. This is going to be the longest video in the history of YouTube. Wow.
Sweet.
Slick.
All right.
Done.
Back on.
Let's look at them from the back. There they go. That looks clean, man. Ooh, that looks clean. Put the seat on, put the exhaust on. We are done. All right, guys. The seat is back on. The block-off plates for the rear pegs are on. As you can see, it looks very clean now in the back. We put the tank back on. The AIS sensor is removed, which is something with the emissions, what everything is. Put the block-off plates on. That was a pain in the ass. What else did we do?
Air filter.
We put the brand new race air filter in there. And now we're going to put on the exhaust system. I think the first thing that we're going to do is put on the headers. We're going to connect the headers along with the centerpiece first and then install that. Once that's installed, then we're going to go in and install the exhaust as the second step.
Nice.
Boom. All right, so 2 springs here, 2 springs here, 1 here, 1 here. And then we put on the O2 sensor block-off plug, whatever this thing is, but it doesn't want to screw in all the way. We're going to wait until we get the exhaust fully on, and then maybe we can have more leverage by spinning this, because it doesn't want to spin more than this, and this washer is a little bit loose. This is supposed to be flush in there, so we're going to figure that out later. All right, guys, so at the time, we installed the flanges, as you can see right up here, and we also put the nuts and the bolts, but we're not screwing them in yet until the headers go inside of it. So that's the next step.
We're just torquing these down evenly on both sides. Don't want to do one first before the other. Just go back and forth.
Yeah, Max likes to torque it. Or is it torque it? Which one? Both?
Torque it.
I think
Both.
I like twerking it. I think that's good, right?
That should be fine.
All right, now we're going to test fit just to make sure it fits in correctly. You may have to move these, spread them apart, or...
Yeah, that's what I gotta check for. So it looks like that side is good.
Do that side first, and then this side you can move around easily. All right, guys, so we got some anti-seize here. And anti-seize does what?
So basically, if we ever want to take this back off, we're not going to kill ourselves trying to pull it.
All these parts that we're using, the anti-seize and the other thing that we cleaned off with, they're going to be linked down in the description below. You guys can get them off Amazon. Like I talked about in the beginning of this video, this took hours and hours and hours. We started at 11 a.m. and what time is it now? 8 o'clock. So yeah, we've been tooling away for a while. The most difficult thing was just getting these little connectors in there and making sure that the flanges are positioned correctly. Now the last piece that's remaining is putting on the exhaust. Now, just in case you're wondering, this piece right here that was hooked up, here, I removed it because it's no longer necessary. And that's going to be a little bit more weight savings for you. So remove that piece if you're not going to be putting on the stock exhaust anytime soon. And if you ever do, you can put it back on. But other than that, I think the last piece is just putting the exhaust on, and then afterwards just doing a quick one-over, and then putting on the fairings. All right, guys, the exhaust is on, but now we're just tightening up the screw for the CO2 block-off sensor. But everything looks good, as you can see. Everything is tidy and beautiful.
This is a 16.
There we go, done.
Alright guys, here's the moment of truth. We didn't put the fairings on yet, but I'm going to fire this baby up after 8 hours of working on this thing. I told you we are complete amateurs. So after 8 hours, let's see if the dash lights up like a Christmas tree, or if it's just going to give us a check engine light like we should expect. Because O2 sensor is removed, and so is the servo that goes into the original exhaust. Alright, let's see what happens. Christmas tree?
Oh, you gotta fire it up to see.
You ready?
Moment of truth. ABS light.
Yeah, that's gonna go away.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have no self-restraint and absolutely no self-control. So we are removing the baffle. Screw that. Getting rid of the baffle because we want to hear how loud this freaking thing is and how great it sounds. So we already took the screw out, and next thing to do is to get a pair of pliers and pull this baby out. Let's remove that baffle. There we go.
Nice.
Nice. Look at this. Woo! Look at that. Oh, baby. Here, let me clean the insides. Alright, moment of truth without the baffle. Here we go. I'm excited.
Same here. Oh, yeah.
Clean sound. It's the first time. Jesus. That was amazing. Well worth it. Now we got to put the fairings back on and make this thing ready to go.